Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master and welcome to another one of my videos. You know something that pisses me off as a Kingdom Hearts fan? Disney now owns Star Wars, and because of that, there might be a Star Wars themed stage in the Kingdom Hearts series. I mean, it's not like Kingdom Hearts ever had a guy who dresses like a Sith and uses lightsabers in one of its boss battles. Okay, well, I guess that's just a coincidence. It's not like they actually parody the line, Luke used the Force, just switching the last word out with Keyblade.
Roxas, use the Keyblade!
Okay, so it might have ripped off Star Wars just a little itty bit in that one scene, but I'm pretty sure Sora never used a Force pull in order to get back his Keyblade in order to win a battle. I'm pretty sure there's no scene like that in this entire franchise.
What?
Alright, all of these are just coincidence. The only way I'll believe that Kingdom Hearts ever ripped off Star Wars is if they actually had a character voiced by Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill, do a parody of the whole anger leads to the dark side line that you saw Yoda do in Episode 1, and I'm pretty sure a scene like that never has existed.
Fear leads to obsession with power, and obsession beckons the darkness.
No! I guess it's time to come to a realization, Kingdom Hearts fans. The only reason why Disney bought out George Lucas was probably because it was the only way to really answer the cease and desist letters that they were getting when it comes to this series. Kingdom Hearts is just filled with Star Wars homages and tropes. And of course, the biggest game in the series to feature the most tropes is, of course, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. It pays huge homages to the Star Wars prequels, especially Revenge of the Sith, so I'm going to sit down today and do some character comparisons. And I've even called my psychotic nostalgist buddy Olfart to help answer any questions people might have. I have asked him to study the Star Wars prequels before we sit down and go through this. So, Olfart, what do you think of the Star Wars prequels?
I dare for you to ask me that again, Sonny. I take it that you're a huge fan of Jar Jar Binks. Let me tell you, kiddies, when it comes to the prequel movies, I say they all suck. The CGI is outdated. The story stinks. The racist characters stink. And above all, they're all boring. The only way Lucas could have made it worse is if he redid some of the original movies somehow, but refused to release the originals on the newfangled DVDs.
Greedo shot first.
Let's get on with this, Sonny, before I end up accidentally killing you. Not that you don't deserve it, troll.
Alright, here's what we're going to be doing. Like I said, Kingdom Hearts has tons of Star Wars homages and winks and nods George Lucas franchise. Not just in the plot, but also in the way the Kingdom Hearts characters interact. None more over than Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which has just so many homages to the Star Wars prequels, especially Revenge of the Sith. Now, not all of these characters are one-to-one the same. Just because I'm saying this character resembles that, I don't mean necessarily completely. Sometimes I'm just going to put them together because they share a similar role in the story. For example, I'm going to be comparing Bragg to Count Dooku, and they're completely different when it comes to their personalities. Dooku was a statesman, he was a loyal knight, a former Jedi. He's calm and he's patient, and he really doesn't speak too much unless he's needed to. But Bragg, on the other hand, he's a loudmouth. He likes to talk in this lazy way. He likes to kind of backstab people. He has his own agenda. So they're 180 degrees different when it comes to character. However, Palpatine uses Dooku in a similar way that Xehanort uses Bragg. So therefore, I'm going to put them together. Another interesting thing is sometimes one character can go into 3 characters for the other series. For example, Darth Vader can be split up into 3 characters. Darth Vader is a man who was in love with his life and his youth, but is now forced to live in an unfeeling suit of armor, similar to Terra's lingering will. He is also the right-hand man of the main villain, and behind the mask is a face that people once considered a hero. In this case, Vanitas. And granted, yes, I know this is a prequel, but still, the idea when Vanitas pulls off his mask and we see Sora's face behind it, it's still supposed to be a shocker. And then finally, we have a man that was once good, now corrupted by evil, and waiting for the day that he might be redeemed. In this case, Ansem, Seeker of the Darkness, who's waiting probably for the day Riku will redeem him. So therefore, Darth Vader can be split into 3 Kingdom Hearts characters. Finally, my last problem, which is a big one I should admit, is that I couldn't fit Sora into this. Nor can I really fit Ventus into any of the Star Wars tropes, and those characters are 2 of the biggest. They're kind of our main leads. And no, they're not Luke Skywalker. That goes to someone else, which I will explain later. I guess I could say Ventus is Starkiller from Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Mainly because he does have some of the same color designs that Starkiller has in some of its get-ups. And his dark side, Vanitas, does kind of wear Starkiller's dark side uniform, but I am really stretching it on this one. Alright, let's get this show on the road, and let's start off with what's possibly the easiest one. Terra being Anakin Skywalker. This one really is a no-brainer. Both are passed up and becoming masters. They're both whiny, obsessed with their own power, and convinced at some points their friends are holding them back. Terra is manipulated by Xehanort in the same way Anakin is by Palpatine to do some dark and terrible things. Now, there are a few things that make Terra a more likable and redeemable character, though. Unlike Anakin, who willfully threw everything away and was smart enough to realize what he was doing wrong in the end, Terra stays gullible and ignorant enough that he never really turns evil. When he does go to the dark side, it's more kicking and screaming than a willful turn. Yes, his body and his heart do turn to the dark side, but unlike Anakin, Terra dooms his mind to what could be a fate worse than death by sealing it away in his own armor, just so he has one more chance to protect his friends from Xehanort. Anyways, they both do wind up evil and trapped in their own suits of armor, but I do have to give points to Terra for at least fighting back against the darkness rather than just whining about it and ultimately siding with it.
Step right there, Sonny. If Terra is Anakin Skywalker, but Sora isn't Luke Skywalker, then who is Luke supposed to be? Answer me that, Sonny.
The answer to that question is both simple and ridiculously obvious. Who is Terra's successor? Who is a person who makes similar mistakes but ultimately ends up redeeming himself and is the person who is also trying his best to redeem Terra himself? The answer to that is, of course, Riku.
Sonny, I think you've been hit in the head one too many times. Or did you miss that Riku's a bad guy in the original Kingdom Hearts? He went all into the darkness and stuff.
Yeah, he did, but you also have to recognize what Luke Skywalker is in relationship to Anakin Skywalker. Both characters make their same mistakes on their journey, but Luke has better friends and is able to let things go easier than Anakin did. Hence, when Luke trips and makes a mistake, he is able to recover. Riku makes a lot of mistakes, especially in the original Kingdom Hearts, and comes blow to blow with Sora. But Sora forgives him and is able to redeem him, and now Riku is out to redeem Terra, having made similar mistakes, but not going as far as Terra. So the person who is going to probably redeem Terra in Kingdom Hearts 3 is probably going to be Riku. He is the one that is connected to Terra. Just like Luke Skywalker is tied to Anakin Skywalker through Darth Vader, Riku is tied to Terra through Ansem, Seeker of Darkness. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But yes, I will stick to the fact that Riku is the Luke Skywalker here and not Sora. And for those crying foul because Riku is the sidekick character, let's not forget that at the end of Dream Drop Distance, Xehanort tries to possess Sora in the same way he tries to possess Terra. Lee, of course, was able to stop him, but Xehanort doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who gives up after one loss. In fact, he's cunning as hell, and usually his defeats are just one step further along the road to his ultimate victory. He's not going to give up turning Sora to the dark side to failing once, and if he succeeds, there's only one person who can stop him, and the only person that the old guy is legitimately afraid of is Riku. So, yeah, definitely Riku fits the Luke Skywalker billing here. Alright, it's time to move on here, and from now on, I'm going to be sticking to prequel characters from Star Wars and Birth by Sleep characters from Kingdom Hearts. Anyways, Xehanort is Palpatine. Yeah, this one is obvious. Terra and Xehanort's relationship is very similar to Anakin and Palpatine's from Star Wars. Xehanort comes first as a friend and mentor, then promises him to replace something that Terra sees as broken, and then ultimately converts him to the dark side through trickery. Although Xehanort uses a little bit more force to get what he wants from Terra than what Palpatine had to do with Anakin, still, the way he outsmarts and manipulates his opponents in the same way is kind of beautiful to watch. And there are scenes that even mirror Star Wars Episode 3 with him. Bray capturing him and holding him for ransom so Terra would have to come rescue him and then use some of his dark powers in order to win is very similar to the way that Dooku faked capturing Palpatine so they could lure Anakin to go in and rescue him. Thus, during that fight, Anakin moved towards the dark side when he murdered Dooku. It's pretty much the same thing, and the conversation after that fight with Bray between Terra and Xehanort is very similar to the conversation between Palpatine and Anakin after Anakin kills Mace Windu and Palpatine manages to convert him to the dark side. And it's a very entertaining scene. If you ever wanted to know what the Emperor in Star Wars would have been like if he was played by Spock, just watch some of Leonard Nimoy's work in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep when it comes to the Xehanort character, because it's very entertaining.
They are a balance, one that must always be maintained. Terra, you are the one who shows the true mark of mastery. But he refuses to see it.
Mickey Mouse is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Wait a minute, Sonny. Last time I looked, this guy fights like Yoda.
Yeah, he does, but there's more to it than just fighting style. And yes, I am overlooking the fact that Obi-Wan was in fact Anakin's best friend and father figure, while in Birth by Sleep, Terra and Mickey never really meet. Yeah, Mickey says he's a friend of his in Dream Drop distance and somehow knows him, despite the fact that he's never really seen him. Terra has seen Mickey before, but only from the back, and that's as far as their relationship goes. I guess it's more of a friend between them. But I do put Mickey in the Obi-Wan role and not Yoda, though, because in Birth by Sleep, he's young, he's still an apprentice one day who will become a master in this game, similar to Obi-Wan in the prequels. He also makes a few mistakes due to his lack of experience. That said, he does share a bond and helps teach a few things to Ventus and Aqua, who do meet him. It's a bit of a stretch, I know, but I would put Mickey in the Obi-Wan Kenobi role.
Alright, then, who's Yoda supposed to be in this?
Well, in Star Wars Episode 3, Yoda was the only one to see an attack coming from the clones. He also saw the rise of the Sith and was prepared for it. He is Obi-Wan's teacher and confidant, so guess what? That makes it Yin Sid. While Mickey does fight like Yoda, he's small and jumps around, and he does provide some wisdom to Sora as well as to Ventus and Aqua. The overall old wise hermit figure that knows everything is Yin Sid, so I'm going to give him the title of Yoda in this.
Okay, so who's the rest of the Jedi? You know, the ones that Anakin just slaughters?
Well, if you're talking about the Jedi Council specifically, I would have to say it was Master Eriquis. Like the Jedi Council, Eriquis is smart and definitely well-read enough, but not exactly wise and immune from being foolish. He sends Terra off by himself despite knowing Terra's problems, doesn't check in on his students or even look after Ventus himself after it's obvious that Aqua's having trouble finding him after all this time, and he trusts Xehanort way too much despite the fact that he's gotten scarred by the guy. And much like Mace Windu, he ultimately sacrificed what he believes in to solve a problem currently at hand due to fear. And like Mace Windu, who got killed by Anakin for trying to kill Palpatine, this led to a fight between Eriquis and Terra, between what should happen to Ventus, that ultimately led to Eriquis being defeated by his student Terra and then killed by Xehanort. But that said, there might be some redemption for Eriquis here. For one thing, in the trailers to Kingdom Hearts 3, it shows Eriquis and Xehanort when they were kids playing chess, and he's able to keep up with Xehanort, at least back then. And it shows him moving a piece with Sora symbol to challenge one of Xehanort's pieces that has the old man Xehanort's symbol on it. And it kind of makes me wonder if the reason why Sora wields the Keyblade is that Eriquis may have given him the power. It's just a theory. I mean, was he really just sitting on his throne in the Land of Departure when all of this was happening? After all, Xehanort's a very tactical guy, so if Eriquis is his rival, why not him? So Eriquis may have put a few pieces in play too. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Kingdom Hearts 3. That's just a fan theory. I'll get back to the topic now, but it would be interesting to see if we find out exactly how Sora got his blade. Braig is Count Dooku. Alright, so this is more out of a plot point than character personalities, because they have very different character personalities. Braig is more laid back, he's lazy in the way he speaks, while Dooku's more of a stately gentleman. But anyways, here's what they have in common. At the beginning of Episode 3, Palpatine stages his own kidnapping at the hands of Dooku. Now, I have read some of the novelization of that movie, and it seemed that Dooku thought Palpatine would recruit Anakin right there on the spot, and the two would be brother apprentices. It was all a trick, and Dooku got betrayed big time by Palpatine. Same thing here, Xehanort staged his own kidnapping by Braig to lure Terra out and to have Terra unleash some of his dark power. Braig was promised something, and it was probably his own Keyblade for doing this, but it was ultimately a trick. Terra won the fight and took Braig's eye out. But oh well, look on the bright side, Braig. Dooku not only lost an eye, but everything above his shoulders. At least in the movie. Since I'm using the game, it just shows him getting run through, but in the movie it's implied that Anakin decapitated him. Alright, I think the next one is a bit of a stretch, but I think these two kind of fit their roles. Donald Duck and Goofy are C-3PO and R2-D2. They're both kind of clumsy comic relief duos, with the small one being the hardest one to understand and the one that is the most stubborn. Goofy, though, to be fair, doesn't fit into the C-3PO role as much. He does have the problem with intelligence, but he doesn't have the same amount of arrogance that C-3PO has. Still, while a bit of a stretch, I just see these two characters when I think of them in the Kingdom Hearts universe. Okay, on to the last character to do a Star Wars comparison with. Aqua. Old fart, want to guess who she is?
I would say, taking a look at her, she reminds me of Padme Amidala Hooker.
Amidala Hooker?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that's her full name. Get it? I'm saying she's a...
You're saying she's a cheap date. Anyways, that's not really a bad guess, though. Aqua, like Padme, is a strong, determined woman, upstanding in her morals and her beliefs. Padme oftentimes had to keep Anakin's more aggressive nature in check, and she would oftentimes disagree with him on some of the natures of how to act. You can see that relationship similar between Terra and Aqua. Aqua's always fretting about him going way too much over to the darkness or the dark side, and worrying about where his anger and frustration will lead him, and is nagging him. Padme Amidala did the same thing to Anakin throughout the prequels. It was one of the worst parts of the prequels because both of the actors sucked, but she did do that throughout the prequels. But despite some of her relationship with Padme Amidala, I think Aqua closely resembles another character.
Alright, who do you think she is? Misa thinks she's Jar Jar Binks. You gotta be kidding. No, Misa bombad serious. She's Jar Jar Binks. Get down!
What happened?
I sensed a disturbance in the force. I sensed millions of voices screaming out and flaming you all at once. You got some explaining to do with that comparison, Sonny.
Okay, before we begin, I need to explain, no, I don't think Aqua's this racist, bumbling, comic relief idiot of a character that Jar Jar is. However, Jar Jar had one important part in the Star Wars mythos. In Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, he pretty much hands Palpatine all the power he needs to take control. In Kingdom Hearts, Aqua functions the same way through her own misguided idiocy. She manages to push both Ventus and Terra away from her being her goody two-shoes self and lecturing them rather than stopping to understand her friend's plight and peril. Aqua actually helps Xehanort in unintended ways because she's too impatient to stop and understand the full situation. This actually makes it much easier for Xehanort to bait his trap and ultimately possess Terra in the end. To make matters worse, she sticks the unconscious Ventus in a room which only she can enter, and then again, because she doesn't take time to fully understand the situation, she decides to banish herself to the Dark Realm and save the still possessed Terra. On top of that, she completely passes over Sora possessing her Keyblade and decides to give it to the most kidnapped princess in video game history that wasn't created by Nintendo. Yeah, Aqua Binks here basically has handed all the keys for an easy victory to Xehanort. She left the worlds alone with only one Keyblade Master to watch over them, Mickey. It would take another decades before the powers manifested in Riku and ultimately somehow managed to latch onto Sora before there was another one guarding the worlds. And because of these mistakes, Sora now has Ventus's heart stuck inside of him that he can't get back because Ventus is now locked up in a place that he can't get to, and this is actually helping Xehanort out. The only reason why Xehanort came close to possessing Sora is the inner conflict that's coming in between with Sora and all the different souls he's managed to possess throughout his journey. And it's all on Aqua's doorstep. So, as you can see, she is Jar Jar Binks. She screwed up just like Jar Jar Binks did, and I really can't help but call her an idiot. And if you still don't believe me on how useless Aqua is, let me make an argument that Terra has actually done more to keep Xehanort from winning than Aqua has. Yes, Terra, the Anakin Skywalker character of this series, the guy who got possessed by Xehanort and became the villain for Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, has done more to keep Xehanort from winning than Aqua. From making sure his powers were definitely passed down to someone he thought was worthy, to sealing up his mind in his armor so he could have one more chance to keep Xehanort from taking off with his body and hurting his friends, and doing a constant battle inside his own heart to keep the Ansem Seeker of Darkness from being completely under the sway of Xehanort. Terra has done more to sacrifice for his friends and to keep Xehanort from winning than Aqua ever has. At least so far. That might change in Kingdom Hearts 3, but so far I think she's a useless idiot. Anyways, I'm going to leave this video right here. It's always interesting to go through the Kingdom Hearts series and the Star Wars series and just see how many things they use off each other. Kingdom Hearts especially borrows a lot from the Star Wars series, both in some of the character traits, some of the plot setups, and other things, and it's always interesting to see how they incorporate it and make these plot devices their own, and it's very entertaining. Anyways, I thank you for watching, and I thank Old Fart here for helping me out. Maybe now that you've actually played a 3D game and watched the Star Wars prequels, you'll find out that some of the newer stuff isn't the worst thing ever.
Then again, maybe not.